Now that Democrats have passed the health care reform bill, it's time for both sides to deal with the fallout, if any. As they prepare for November's midterm elections, voters will want to know how they're going to handle some other political issues, maybe taxes, the deficit. How big an uphill battle are Dems facing? Let's bring in our political panel. Tim Punk served on the White House National Economic Council during the Clinton administration. Ron Bonjean has served as an advisor and strategist for top Republicans in both the House and the Senate. Gentlemen, good to see you both. Ron, let me start with you. If joblessness declines, the economy improves. And if Americans begin to feel the more immediate positive results of the insurance reform, you know, maybe November is not going to be as dire as Democrats perhaps feel. Isn't that the nightmare scenario for you Republicans?
Well, I'll tell you what, jobs and the economy are going to be the #1 issues going into the 2010 elections. And we have seen some improvements in the economy, notably Friday's job numbers. However, what Republicans are arguing is that the right policies need to be in place to create permanent, long-lasting jobs that are good in quality, instead of the temporary jobs that last Friday's numbers created. For instance, I think 48,000 of them were census jobs. Also, in addition, they're going to argue that the health care bill spent $1 trillion that should have stayed in the American economy, will raise taxes on businesses and individuals, and will raise premiums.
Tim, E.J. Dionne is a liberal columnist for the Washington Post, and here's part of what he wrote today. Quote, the election campaign is likely to be characterized by more anger than reason, and the opposition has the advantage of not being in charge at a moment of great discontent. He's got a point, doesn't he?
Look, I think it's always easier to be throwing bombs than it is to pass legislation. But I think Democrats have a very good story to tell. And I think, first of all, if you look at the jobs numbers, I think they can't so easily be dismissed. You look at the first quarter of 2009, and we were losing 750,000 jobs a month. You look at the first quarter of 2010, and we're gaining 50,000 jobs a month.
Yeah, but
now,
the
look, I think
unemployment
everybody
rate didn't
realizes
budge.
that we have to do better. Sure, but look, I think that those jobs numbers are something that I think Congress is going to look at, and they're going to say, look, we've had some bipartisan successes over the last 18 months. We've been able to pass targeted reform on small businesses, on infrastructure spending, and I think when they come back, I think what the American people want them to do is to look at ways that they can have some more bipartisan successes like that. And Ron's right about this. Look, I mean, it's not just the short term, it's long term too. But I think this administration and this Congress are looking at structural reforms, things like financial reform, high-scale immigration, international trade. Those are all issues where I think the administration has both a short-term and a long-term focus.
You know, Ron, I was looking at the latest Gallup poll, not the latest, but a recent Gallup poll. A mere 6% of Americans say the president's stimulus bill created jobs. As Politico pointed out, more people believe Elvis is alive. So that doesn't speak well of the president. So is it the plan of Republicans to portray the president and Democrats as the architects of a failed economic policy?
Well, what I think you'll see is that Republicans are going to paint the White House as out of touch, that they spent over a year, working on a health care reform bill that spends $1 trillion, raises taxes on businesses, raises premiums, when they should have been focused on stimulating jobs and growing the economy. Yeah. Even the White House admits that there's no way the unemployment rate is going to really lower, and enough jobs will be created by November. Most importantly, people need to feel it. They need to feel the change that's happening. And they're not going to reelect Democrats who promised them the change back in 2008.
You know, Tim, a Gallup poll, speaking of Gallup polls, this was a different one, shows that more voters plan to pick Republicans over the Democrat in their congressional district, and that's a reversal from a month ago. So what do Democrats do to reverse that? It can't be just jobs, because you're probably not going to feel it by November.
Well, look, I think November is a long time away. I think if you ask people a year out from the 2008 election who was going to be president, or if you ask people a year out from the Massachusetts special election who was going to be the senator from Massachusetts, I don't think a lot of people would have gotten that right. I think Democrats are going to come back and continue to do what they've been doing. Look, first of all, the health care bill is about jobs. I think if you ask the average American, what's your #1 fear of losing your job? First of all, they're obviously going to say income, but the second thing they're going to say is, look, I worry about losing my health care. So I think the Democrats are going to be very successful at touting the benefits of the health care bill. And then I think they're going to come back and do what they've been doing, which is have some targeted reform on jobs issues. If you look at some of the bills that Democrats have been able to pass, they've been bipartisan. They've been focused on some of these jobs issues.
Well, we got about 7 months. Ron Bonjean and Tim Punk, thank you both for being with us. Jane?
Thanks for having us, Greg.
A major airline in this country is rolling out some brand new technology that could change the way you fly forever. Is your next flight going to be better?